Start here with the NFC Championship game. It is a rematch. It's the third game between the Rams and the Seahawks. The LA Rams lost to the Seahawks late in the year, and Seahawks ended up getting the number one overall seed. So kind of opposite approaches here because the Seahawks got the number one seed and they got to host. The Rams, by the way, they did not get the number one seed, so they had to go to the wild card round. They had to travel twice, but they went to Carolina, knocked off the Panthers, went to Chicago, knocked off the Bears last week, and now looking to win another game to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl and looking for another Super Bowl championship in the Sean McVay and Matt Stafford era. I find this interesting for a lot of different reasons. We knew that this division would produce some of the best teams, the best situations, the best storylines.
Oh, yeah.
The San Francisco 49ers last week just proven to be a team that was literally just too banged up. I think that the injuries just caught up to them. 41-6, it wasn't even competitive there at the very end. This one, I believe, will be more competitive. Talked about being banged up. Seattle's banged up. We'll talk about them a little bit. But I find it kind of is perfect that it's these two teams here matching up because this was the best division all year.
Without a doubt. And it just felt like a juggernaut. And it seemed like at least one of these teams was going to be playing for the NFC Championship. And it's just ironic that the NFC West are guaranteed to have a team in the Super Bowl. And it's so weird because it feels everyone, I think I said this before, everyone talks about how it's like 2016 and 2026. Well, the Broncos and the Seahawks are the number one seeds in their respective conferences. And there's a possibility, we'll talk about the Broncos tomorrow and their chances with Jarrett Stidham, former Auburn quarterback.
That's right.
So going from one former Auburn quarterback to the other, we'll see how that happens. I believe Stidham was also on the Patriots.
Yes, he was.
Earlier in his career. So, I mean, looking to get some revenge there. But talking about this game, we'll go back to the 49ers game. I mean, this game was over after the first kick.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Rashid Shaheed, just unreal. One of those trade targets. I think I said to you about how, hey, the Steelers might want to target this guy.
Yes, you did,
He could be available.
The replacement for DK.
Well, the Seahawks ended up getting him, and you didn't really know. I think I was a little bit puzzled by the trade at first because it's like, well, you have Cooper Kupp, you have JSN, you have all of these guys. Why would you want to trade for Rashid Shaheed? I just don't know where he fits in. And, well, there you go. That's how he fits in right there, nicely on the kickoffs and the punt returns.
Yeah, special teams has been kind of his forte, and they've needed some game breakers with Sam Darnold there at quarterback, and they've kind of gotten those game breakers there with them. You mentioned JSN might have had one of the best seasons that we can remember from that standpoint, from a I would say from a straight receiver standpoint, but it wasn't as dominating as some of the big receivers that we always associate with that. Guys like T.O. or guys like Brandon Marshall, these 6'4" guys that have these incredible years. It feels like guys like JSN and Puka Nacua that have been giving us these seasons here as of late, kind of the smaller guys that can run every route in the route tree.
I will say this. I almost find it a little bit impressive because this year has been such a defensive dominating year. Just the fact that he was able to put up these numbers. I believe all of these teams are averaging on defense below 20 points per game, which is just absolutely unreal. We'll see how that translates here into this weekend because obviously the Seahawks have a pretty good offense. Can Sam Darnold? We want to talk about the college football storylines that we had. The NFL storylines are all pretty good too. I mean, you got the Rams trying to win in two different eras under Matthew Stafford. You got the Seahawks, can Sam Darnold actually win a Super Bowl?
Right.
And then your Patriots, can they actually win under Mike Vrabel in year one?
And then
the Broncos, can Jarrett Stidham, come in and play spoiler?
And be the backup quarterback. We've seen that a few times before, the backup quarterback coming in and playing the hero. The former Georgia quarterback, though, is Matt Stafford in this game for the LA Rams. And keep in mind, when they lost that game, they're trying to avenge the loss they had on that Thursday night game right before Christmas. They lost that game 38-37 in overtime. But keep in mind, Matt Stafford threw for 457 yards in that game. He had a really nice game as far as just straight up yards and stats go. And it'll be a nice battle between him and Sam Darnold. Threw for 3 touchdowns there in that game as well. I find this a kind of a compelling storyline for Matt Stafford because it looks like he's the odds-on favorite to win the MVP. And if he goes on to win this game and go to another Super Bowl, I think he could probably, get fitted for a gold jacket there in Canton as a Hall of Famer.
I would make the argument he's already,
if not already. I think that there's some people that want to see multiple Super Bowls and or multiple MVPs, but I think if he gets the MVP and or gets the Super Bowl, I think he's in. Certain people that are arguing the opposite side of that.
I think if he wins the MVP and wins the Super Bowl and names Super Bowl MVP, it's a sure. And let me know what your jacket size is. We'll see you in a few years.
Yeah,
I think at that point he will have done enough because he had to go through a lot in Detroit.
Yeah, he did.
Some of the dark years of that franchise. And
darkest,
I mean, bad years over there in Detroit. So for him to be able to, I will say this, I think the Rams window is probably closing.
Yes, I would say so. Just from an age perspective,
this may be the last chance that they have.
And I think if you're a Rams fan, you're happy for that defense because that defense is young.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a quarterback league, and what we're seeing in college football, we saw the most impactful player was Francisco Mendoza. Led his team to the Heisman, led himself to the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
Led his team to the championship. Same thing in professional football. It starts and ends with the quarterback. So I think you're right there in that regard. Either way, these two teams have played really tight games. Matthew Stafford's been really solid there in the playoffs. That first game, if you're wondering, if you don't remember that far back, all the way back to November 16th is the game that the LA Rams won that game by 21-19. It's in the Seahawks won by 1 in the overtime game. So it should be really interesting there as these two teams hook up once again. Coach Sean McVay for the LA Rams talked about this Seattle-LA rivalry as they meet for time number 3 in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think you got to just, you take into account the previous 2 times. We've been in similar situations. When you look back to the COVID year, we played Seattle 3 times. Playing them in the wild card round. And then our Super Bowl year, we ended up playing the Niners for the 3rd time in the NFC Championship, both of which we had games late against them. The Niners game was the last game of the year. And then the Seattle one in the COVID year was, I believe, the second to last game of the year. So it is an added layer, but it's really just a familiarity. Let's put together the best plans that we can for our guys. And let's understand, what type of execution and what type of, competitive stamina it's going to take for us to go get the job done against, as complete a football team as there is in this league and as hot of a football team as there is in this league.
So they're trying to end off the momentum that's already been started there with Seattle. Last thing on the Rams, we talked a little bit about Matthew Stafford. So far in these playoffs, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Those 3 touchdowns all came in the first game.
That's exactly right. I think that he probably doesn't have to throw for 457 like he did in their last game. They didn't win that game anyways. He does have to play better, though. In my opinion, he does have to play better in order to get the win on the road against the 12 in Seattle.
I would honestly not be surprised if this was one of those weird, ugly, low-scoring games, potentially below 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to talk about – because this isn't and I know rivalry games, coaches want to minimize what this actually means for some of these players. But,
right.
I mean, I'm sure both sides want to get up. LA, obviously, because they lost that game late in the season on what was a weird play. I mean, Zach Charbonnet, who we'll get to the Seahawks here in a minute, they're going to be without him, just randomly picked up the ball and it ended up giving them the win just in the end zone on the 2-point conversion. Right. And then I think Seattle on the other side is also thinking about that game in LA where Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions, had his worst game of the season, was the MVP favorite up until that point, and still only lost by 2 because you miss a field goal late in the game that could have given you the win. So I think both sides are going to be up. They're going to be ready for this game. I want to say this is the first NFC Championship in Seattle since the game winner against the Packers.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one – that was the year of the infamous call on the goal line.
The call. Yeah. And I mean, there's some iconic games that come to mind when I think about playoff games that were in Seattle. This might be a little before your time, or maybe before you were watching.
Oh, don't bring up the Cowboys one.
No, I wasn't going. Actually, I wasn't going. I didn't even think about that one, but no, I wasn't going to bring that one up. I'm not that mean.
I appreciate it. I won't bring up Nick Foles.
I was going to bring up I think it was I think it was Matt Hasselbeck that we want the ball and we're going to score.
Oh,
when he called that one in overtime,
they threw it big, right?
And then he throws the interception. Remember that game, and then the game that Marshawn Lynch had. I think it was against the run that he had against. I think it was against the Saints.
Yeah,
when the stadium started shaking. Those are the two games that come to mind. It just seems like iconic games always end up happening in Seattle.
Yeah.
It should be 44 degrees when those two teams
it'll be warmer than down here, I think.
Yes, it will be. It will be warmer in Seattle, and it'll be drier probably as well, because I don't think they'll get much rain up there, and we're expected to get a lot of rain down here.
I will pose this question to you.
Yeah.
Can you see a world where Sam Darnold actually makes the Super Bowl, though? It's so weird when you say that out loud.
Yeah, given his trajectory, because you don't necessarily see a guy that's on is this team number 5 for him? I mean, you don't see a guy that is this highly drafted, considered a bust, then resurrects his career, and then gets basically booted by the team last year when the Vikings said, "Hey, thanks, but no thanks. We don't want to sign you to a big deal." Signs the big deal, and then now reaches here. It's weird to see, and I'm going to make an interesting parallel here, because up until about a month ago, if I was playing the "Can you close your eyes and see this happening?" Can Indiana win a national championship?
This is true.
And so I am just now starting to kind of take what I would think.
Based off of what you're saying, Seattle should win the Super Bowl then. Because Fernando Mendoza did it.
Correct, yes.
Indiana did it.
Right, yes. And a guy that got a second chance there at quarterback, rehabilitates his quote-unquote image, so to speak.
Shout out Kyle Shanahan.
Exactly, yeah. And then another a championship winning coach. I know Cignetti hadn't won one yet, but you could tell that all the pieces were there to be a great coach. Same thing with Sean McVay. I know he's already won one, but the pieces were there even beforehand that he was going to be a great coach as well. And then you have also Mike McDonald, who was a great defensive coordinator there in Baltimore. Now can he lead a great defense and now lead Sam Darnold there? The pieces are there, and I think that the Indiana win has kind of warped my brain into thinking, like, who's to say that this is not possible in this day and age? I know it's two different sports, two different situations, but I just stopped doubting, I guess, is the better way to put it.
You just got to stop doubting. We did hear from Mike McDonald on him showing what his team's expectations are.
You got to, like, if you say it's going to be about intent, then I think you have to back it up, and that's not just me. That's like our coaches and our and like the vets on the team. By like, hey, look, if you come up and you're prepared and you have a great attitude and you get after it and you go practice and go let it rip, like we say all the time, you know. You have to see, like, okay, like, I'm not going to get killed for doing something, but for making a mistake, you know. So that way we can have that intent all those times. And to me, it's a coach's responsibility to make sure we make the most out of those reps by how we design things, how we coach it up, you know, how we improve from rep to rep. And I feel like as a team, we've done a great job of that. I know we've fallen short sometimes, and that's going to be inevitable, but as long as you realize it, you know, and then you kind of make it right and nobody's all bent out of shape about it, you just say, hey, look, we realized it. You know, we screwed this up. All right, now what are we going to do to move forward? And, you know, it's no harm, no foul, and let's rock and roll from there. But I think it's just that consistent attitude from day to day.
Score prediction.
This was interesting.
This one's going to be a tough one
to
predict.
This is going to be a tough one to predict. Over under 2.5. Over under right now 46.5. The point spread right now, as I see it, is Seattle's a 2.5 point favorite. Expected score around 24-22, 25-22, just depending on what side of the number you're going with.
Yeah.
Which lends credence to your point that this could be a lower scoring game. I do see Seattle coming away with the win here. It's going to be hard because more will be asked of Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Because no Zach Charbonnet. I'm going to change my pick. I'm going Rams.
Wow. Because Charbonnet's out.
Because I think what's going to happen is that Charbonnet's out. They don't have as strong of a running game with Velus Jones, even though he's a guy from our area. I'll go ahead and readily admit that. Him and Cam Akers are going to be the guys that might be pulling one other player off the practice squad. I think they're going to ask Sam Darnold to put the ball in the air 35, 45 times. and I just think that he throws one or two that costs him. And I believe that the Rams will find their footing. And I might go back and forth all the way till Sunday on this one, but as of right now, this show, give me the Rams in the upset. Money line is plus 130.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not listen to what he's saying. Because Kenneth Walker, that dude's a beast.
He is a monster.
He's a monster. Absolute monster. I saw him trucking dudes over there at Michigan State. He trucked everybody in Ann Arbor over. This dude's going to run for 100 yards. This dude's going to run for a touchdown.
On Jared Verse and that defense?
Oh, yeah. They haven't seen this. They thought they were going to get Charbonnet. Nah, you're going to get Kenneth Walker. This is Kenneth Walker's coming out party. I think the Seahawks win this one because Kenneth Walker just does enough. He's going to have a Mark Fletcher Jr. type game where he gets these like 7-8 yards of carry and just ground and pound until this game is over.
A lot of explosive plays. Yeah. I will say, though, my favorite unit in this game, if I'm just doing offense, defense for both squads, if you put the four together, I'm not counting special teams, my favorite unit is the Seattle defense.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Seattle defense will be able to hold Puka Nacua in check. I believe that Stafford's going to have to go elsewhere. He didn't have a good game. And Devin Witherspoon, a guy that played at Illinois from our area here as well in Pensacola, I think that they'll have a good game on him. I believe Matt Stafford will make a couple of plays late in this one to keep it going.
I think so.
I might go back and forth on this one for a long time.
Give me the Seahawks.
But also, I'm actually having to forecast forward about who I think will play my Patriots in the Super Bowl. Yes, I'm going ahead and forecasting it. We will.
No, they won't. No, they won't. They can't beat a backup quarterback.